Eshe had been in Seoul for 4 years studying economics when she learned what her mother had done. The contract was already signed. The terms were clear. 200 million won borrowed from Jang Min-ho, a man so dangerous that prosecutors couldn't touch him, so powerful that even paralyzed in a wheelchair he controlled half of Seoul's criminal empire. When the money couldn't be repaid, the contract had a backup clause. Eshe herself, delivered to his penthouse, bound to serve until he decided the debt was satisfied. It could take months. It could take years. She walked into his office, expecting a monster, and found something far more complicated. A man who ruled through ice-cold intelligence because his body had failed him. A man who expected her to break. But Eshe had spent her whole life watching her mother make desperate choices, and she'd sworn she would never be powerless like that. So she did something nobody had done to Jang Min-ho in 3 years. She refused to be afraid. And that changed everything. The phone call came at 2 in the morning. Eshe was awake, hunched over her laptop in her tiny Seoul apartment, typing notes about informal credit markets in East Africa. Her thesis was due in 3 months. The screen glowed blue in the darkness, numbers and citations blurring together after 6 straight hours of work. When her phone buzzed, she almost ignored it. Unknown number. Probably spam. But something made her answer. Eshe Gebrehiwat? The voice was male, calm, speaking perfect English with a Korean accent. Yes, who is this? My name is Director Yoon. I am calling on behalf of Jang Min-ho. Your mother has entered into a financial agreement she cannot honor. The debt is now yours. Eshe sat up straight. What are you talking about? My mother doesn't. 200 million won. Borrowed 8 months ago for her import business. She has missed 4 payments. The terms were clear. 200 million won. Ishe's mind raced. Converting currency. That was roughly 160,000 US dollars. Her mother's business was small. A coffee export company connecting Ethiopian farmers to Korean buyers. There was no way she needed that much money. There must be a mistake, Eshe said, but her voice shook. There is no mistake. Your mother signed a contract. You are listed as collateral. We require you to present yourself at the following address tomorrow morning at 10. Failure to appear will have immediate consequences for your family in Addis Ababa. Wait, collateral? I'm not an object you can. 10 a.m. Miss Gebrehiwat, I suggest you be punctual. The line went dead. Eshe stared at her phone, her heart hammering. This had to be a scam. Some elaborate scheme to frighten her. She opened her messaging app with trembling fingers and called her mother. It rang 8 times before her mother answered, voice thick with sleep. Esh? It's the middle of the night there. What, Mom? Ishi's voice came out harder than she intended. Did you borrow money from someone named Jang Min-ho? The silence that followed told her everything. Mom. Did you? Eshe, I can explain how much. It was for the business. I had an opportunity. The supplier needed payment up front and the banks wouldn't. How much, Mom? 200 million won. Eshe felt the air leave her lungs. So it was real. All of it was real. And you'd put my name on the contract? As collateral? What does that even mean? Her mother started crying. Ish heard it through the phone. That familiar sound of her mother breaking down. The same sound she'd heard throughout her childhood, whenever another business venture failed. Whenever another opportunity slipped away. I thought I could pay it back. Her mother sobbed. I thought the business would grow fast enough. They said they were patient lenders, they said. Who is Jang Min-ho? The crying stopped abruptly. Mom, who is he? Esh, please, you have to understand. Who is he? Another long silence. He's a businessman. Very powerful. I didn't know when I borrowed the money. I didn't know what kind of businessman until later. And by then, Eshe was already typing the name into her laptop search bar. The results made her stomach drop. Jang Min-ho, age 38. Suspected head of the largest criminal organization in Seoul. Money laundering, extortion, illegal gambling operations. No convictions. Witnesses disappeared or recanted. 3 years ago, he survived an assassination attempt that left him paralyzed from the waist down. Since then, he'd consolidated power through ruthlessness that didn't require him to stand up. The most recent photo showed a man in a wheelchair, expressionless, being escorted out of a courthouse, even sitting down, even in a grainy news photo. Something about his face made Eshe's skin prickle. You borrowed money from a gangster, Eshe said flatly, and you used me as collateral. I didn't think it would come to this. What does the contract say? What happens now? Esh, what does it say, Mom? Her mother's voice dropped to a whisper. You have to go live in his house, work for him. Until the debt is repaid, live in his house as a servant, an assistant. I don't know exactly. They didn't specify. You sold me. No, Ish, no, it's not like that. You sold me to a criminal to cover your debt. Ish ended the call. Her hands were shaking so badly she had to set the phone down. Before you find out what happens next, do me a favor. If you're enjoying this story so far, hit that like button right now. And drop a comment telling me what you think Ishe should do. Should she run? Should she go to the police? Or should she walk into that meeting tomorrow? Let me know your thoughts below. Eshi didn't sleep the rest of the night. She spent 4 hours researching Jang Minho, reading every article, every rumor, every piece of information she could find. Then she spent an hour researching Korean law about debt contracts, then another hour trying to find legal aid services that might help. By 8 a.m., she understood 3 things clearly. 1. The contract was probably legal enough that challenging it would take months or years, and cost money she didn't have. 2. Going to the police would be useless. Jang Minho had never been convicted of anything. He would have lawyers, connections, ways to make problems disappear. 3. Her mother's family in Addis Ababa. Her 2 younger sisters still in high school. Her grandmother. They were all vulnerable if Eshi ran. At 9:30, she showered and dressed in the nicest clothes she owned. Black pants, white blouse, her only pair of good shoes. She pulled her hair back into a neat bun. If she was walking into a nightmare, she would do it with her spine straight. The address Director Yoon had given her was in Gangnam, the wealthiest part of Seoul. As Shea took the subway, counting stops, watching the neighborhoods change outside the windows, more luxury cars, cleaner streets, people dressed in clothes that cost more than her monthly rent. The building was unmarked, sleek black glass and steel, with a security guard at the entrance who checked her ID before letting her enter. The elevator required a key card to access the top floor. The security guard handed her one without a word. As the elevator rose, Ishe focused on her breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. She would observe everything, remember everything. Find a way out of this. The elevator opened directly into a penthouse apartment. Ishe stepped out and stopped. The space was huge, open, decorated in grays and blacks and whites. Everything was clean and expensive and cold. Large windows showed the Seoul skyline, buildings stretching away in every direction. A woman in her 20s stood waiting, dressed in a neat gray uniform. Miss Gebrehiwat, the woman said in Korean, bowing slightly. I am Sora, please follow me. Ishe followed her through the apartment, past a living area with furniture that looked like no one had ever sat on it, past a kitchen of gleaming steel and marble, down a hallway lined with closed doors. Sora stopped at a door at the end of the hall and knocked twice. Enter, a voice said from inside. Sora opened the door and gestured for Ishe to go in. The office was smaller than Ishe expected. Bookshelves lined 2 walls, packed with volumes in Korean, English, Chinese. A desk sat near the window, and behind the desk, in a sleek black wheelchair, sat Jang Minho. He didn't look up when she entered. He was reading something on a tablet, his face expressionless. Mid-30s, exactly like his photos, but somehow more present in person. His hair was cut short, his clothes simple but clearly expensive. Everything about him was controlled, measured. Ishe stood in the doorway and waited. 1 minute passed. Then 2. This was a test, she realized. He was waiting to see if she would speak first, fidget, show nervousness. She kept her face neutral and waited. Finally, after nearly 3 full minutes, he looked up. His eyes were dark, unreadable. They moved over her face, calculating. Esha Gebrehiwat, he said. His English was perfect, barely accented. 26 years old, PhD student in economics at Seoul National University. Arrived in Korea 4 years ago on a scholarship, originally from Addis Ababa. Daughter of Almaz Gebrehiwat, who currently owes me 200 million won plus interest. He set down the tablet. Do you know why you're here? My mother used me as collateral for a loan she can't repay. Correct. Do you know what that means? It means you think you own me until the debt is cleared. Something flickered in his eyes. Amusement, maybe. Or irritation. I don't think I own you, he said quietly. According to the contract your mother signed, I do own you. There is a legal distinction. Slavery is illegal in Korea. This isn't slavery. This is debt servitude. Also legal when properly contracted. He tilted his head slightly. You're welcome to hire a lawyer and challenge the contract in court. That process will take approximately 2 to 3 years and cost around 50 million won in legal fees. Do you have 50 million won, Miss Gebrehiwat? Esha said nothing. I thought not. He gestured to a chair across from his desk. Sit. Eshi sat. Your duties will be simple, Minho continued. You will live here. You will assist with administrative tasks as needed. You will not leave without permission. You will not contact the police or any legal services. You will not discuss my business with anyone outside this household. In exchange, your mother's debt will be considered frozen. No additional interest. No consequences for her or your family in Ethiopia. For how long? Until I decide the debt is repaid through your service. Could be 6 months. Could be 6 years. That's insane. That's the contract your mother signed. Ishi felt anger rising hot in her chest. She didn't know what she was signing. Then she's a fool. Are you also a fool, Miss Gebrehiwat? Their eyes met. His face showed nothing, revealed nothing. He was watching her the way a scientist watches something under a microscope. No, Esha said. I'm not a fool. Good. Then we understand each other. He pressed a button on his desk. Sora will show you to your room. You'll start tomorrow. I need to get my things from my apartment. Already done. Your belongings were collected this morning. Isha's hands tightened on the arms of her chair. You went into my apartment? I own your contract. That includes access to your previous residence. He picked up his tablet again, already dismissing her. You may go. Eshi stood slowly. Every instinct screamed at her to say something, to push back, to fight. But she was in his territory now, surrounded by his people, with no leverage and no allies. So she turned and walked out. Sora was waiting in the hallway. She led Ishe to a room in the west wing of the penthouse. It was bigger than Ishe's entire apartment had been, with a bed, a desk, a private bathroom. Ishi's suitcases and boxes were already stacked neatly in the corner. Dinner is at 7, Sora said quietly. Staff eats in the kitchen. You'll meet the others then. If you need anything before that, press the button by the door. Sora, Esha said before the woman could leave. How long have you worked here? Sora hesitated. 4 years. Is he always like this? Like what? Cold. Sora's expression didn't change, but something shifted in her eyes. Yes, she said simply. Always. After Sora left, Esh sat on the bed and tried to process what had just happened. 24 hours ago, she'd been a graduate student worried about her thesis. Now she was a prisoner in a gangster's penthouse. Her mother had done this. Her own mother had signed a contract selling her daughter to clear a debt. Ish felt something hard and painful forming in her chest. Not quite hatred, not quite grief, something in between. She spent the rest of the afternoon unpacking her things, moving mechanically. Clothes in the closet, books on the shelf, laptop on the desk, everything in its place, even though nothing about this was right. At 7, she made her way to the kitchen. 3 other staff members were there. Sora, an older man who introduced himself as Mr. Park the cook, and a young man named Jin who handled security. They were polite but distant, clearly unsure what to make of her. So you're the debt girl, Jin said, not unkindly. Rough situation. Jin, Sora said sharply. What? It's true. It's not polite. Eshi sat down at the small table. It's fine, that's exactly what I am. Mr. Park served food, some kind of stew with rice. It smelled good. Eshe realized she hadn't eaten all day. How much does she owe? Jin asked. 200 million won, Eshe said. Jin whistled low. That's going to take a while to work off. How does it work exactly? Eshe asked. How is the debt calculated against my service? The 3 staff members exchanged glances. We don't really know, Sora admitted. This hasn't happened before. You're the first debt servant. The first person brought here this way, yes. That was somehow worse. Eshi was a test case, an experiment. What's he like to work for? Eshi asked. Another exchange of glances. Demanding, Mr. Park said finally. Very specific about what he wants. Doesn't tolerate mistakes. But fair, Sora added quickly. If you do your job well, he won't bother you. And if you don't do your job well. No one answered that. After dinner, Esh returned to her room. She tried to work on her thesis but couldn't focus. The words blurred together. Her mind kept circling back to the same questions. How had her mother been so stupid? How had Eshi not known this was happening? What kind of man keeps a person as debt payment? Around 11, she heard sounds in the hallway. Voices. Movement. She cracked her door open slightly. Director Yoon was there, the man who'd called her last night. He was talking to Minho, who sat in his wheelchair looking at something on his phone. The shipment arrived without problems. Yoon was saying in Korean. Eshi's Korean wasn't perfect, but she understood most of it. Payment has been transferred, good. And the situation in Busan, handled. Minho nodded. Make sure it stays handled. I don't want any more surprises. Yoon glanced down the hallway and spotted Ishi's partially open door. His eyes narrowed. Ish quickly closed the door and stepped back, heart pounding. She'd just overheard something she probably shouldn't have. The next morning, Sora knocked on her door at 7 a.m. sharp. "Director Yoon wants to see you," she said, in the small meeting room. Ishii dressed quickly and followed Sora to a room she hadn't seen yesterday. Yoon was waiting, standing by a window, hands clasped behind his back. "Miss Gebrehawat," he said without turning around, "do you know what discretion means?" "Yes." "Then you understand that what you see and hear in this household stays in this household." So he had seen her last night. "I understand. I hope so." Now he turned to look at her. He was maybe 50, with silver hair and a face that gave nothing away. "Mr. Jang values loyalty and silence above all things. People who can't provide those qualities don't tend to last long in his employment." "Is that a threat?" "It's a clarification." They stared at each other. "Your first task," Yoon continued, pulling a folder from the desk. "These documents need to be organized chronologically and entered into a spreadsheet. Complete it by the end of the day." He handed her the folder and left without another word. Ishii opened it and her heart sank. There must have been 300 pages inside. All in Korean, different dates, different formats. Some handwritten, some printed. Complete chaos. This was a test, another one. They were checking if she would complain, if she would give up, if she would make excuses. She carried the folder back to her room and got to work. It took her 11 hours. She skipped lunch, drank water from the bathroom tap, used translation apps for the Korean characters she didn't recognize, built the spreadsheet with meticulous care, double-checking every date, every entry. At 6 p.m., she brought the completed file to Yoon's office. He took it without comment and began scrolling through on his computer. Ishii stood and waited. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Finally, Yoon looked up. "There's an error in entry 147. The date is wrong." Ishii's stump dropped. She'd been so careful. "May I see it?" He turned the screen. She looked at the entry, then pulled out the original document from the folder. "The document is dated March 3rd, she said. "That's what I entered. The document is misdated. Anyone familiar with this account would know the transaction occurred on March 5th. "How would I know that?" "You wouldn't, but now you do." He closed the laptop, correct it, and resubmit. Ishii took the folder and left, biting back frustration. She fixed the entry and returned 20 minutes later. This time, Yoon reviewed it for only a minute. "Acceptable," he said. "You're dismissed. No thanks. No acknowledgement of the work. Just acceptable." Esh went to her room and collapsed on the bed. This was how it would be, she realized. Impossible tasks designed to break her spirit. Tests within tests. No winning, only degrees of not losing. 3 days passed in the same pattern. Yoon gave her assignments, administrative work that was always more complicated than it appeared. Organizing files. Translating documents. Researching market data. Each task had a trap, something designed to catch her if she wasn't paying attention. She was paying attention. On the 4th day, Sora brought her a different message. "Mr. Jang wants to see you. In his office." Ishii's pulse quickened. She hadn't seen Minho since that first meeting. She'd glimpsed him a few times in the hallway, always surrounded by people, always on his phone or reading something. He never acknowledged her. She knocked on his office door. Enter. He was at his desk again, same position as before. This time he was writing something by hand on paper, which seemed oddly old-fashioned. "You've completed all the tasks Director Yoon assigned," he said without looking up. "Yes." Without complaint. "Yes." Why? The question surprised her. Because complaining wouldn't change anything. Most people still complain. "I'm not most people." Now he looked up. That same calculating stare. "No," he said slowly. "You're not." He set down his pen and rolled his wheelchair back slightly from the desk. "Tell me about your research." "My research? Your PhD thesis. What's it about?" Ishii hesitated. This felt like another test, but she couldn't see the trap. "Informal credit markets in East African diaspora communities," she said. "How people create financial systems based on trust when they can't access traditional banking." "Trust," Minho repeated. "An interesting foundation for an economic system. It's the only foundation when you have nothing else. And does it work? Sometimes, when the community is small enough that reputation matters. When people know there will be social consequences for defaulting." Social consequences. A slight smile crossed his face, gone almost immediately, a polite way of saying punishment. "I suppose so. So your thesis is about informal debt collection," as she bristled. "It's about community mutual aid systems. Same thing, different framing." He picked up his pen again. "You can go." "That's it? Were you expecting something else?" As she bit back her frustration. "No." She turned to leave. "Miss Gebrehawat." She stopped, looked back. The next time you eavesdrop on a private conversation, Minho said quietly, make sure you understand what you're hearing before you react. Your door was open 6 centimeters. Your breathing changed when Director Yoon mentioned Busan. Those are tells. Fix them. Heat rushed to Esh's face. He'd known. He'd known the whole time. Understood, she managed. She left before he could see how shaken she was. That night, Ishe couldn't sleep. She kept replaying the conversation in her head, the way he'd read her so easily. The casual way he'd pointed out her mistakes. Around midnight, she gave up on sleep and took her laptop to the kitchen to work on her thesis. Maybe if she couldn't control anything else in her life, she could at least control her research. The apartment was dark and quiet. Everyone else was asleep. She made tea and settled at the small kitchen table, pulling up her notes. She'd been working for maybe an hour when she heard it, the soft sound of wheels on the hardwood floor. Minho appeared in the kitchen doorway, his wheelchair moving silently. He stopped when he saw her. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. You're awake, he said finally. So are you. I don't sleep much. He rolled closer, glancing at her laptop screen. Working on your thesis? Yes. May I? Ish turned the laptop so he could see. He read for a minute, scrolling slowly. Your argument is solid, he said. But your data set is too small. 3 communities isn't enough to draw broad conclusions. I know. I'm trying to expand it, but access is difficult. Because they don't trust outsiders. Exactly. Minho nodded slowly. Trust has to be earned. Especially in informal systems. Everyone knows the formal systems are rigged, so the informal ones are all that's left. But that makes them more protective of those systems. More suspicious of anyone studying them. Ishii looked at him carefully. You sound like you know something about informal systems. A slight smile. You could say that. He rolled back toward the doorway. Mr. Jang, Ishii said. He paused. Why did you accept my mother's contract? Why did you agree to those terms? He was quiet for a long moment. Because I wanted to see if she would actually do it, he said. If she would actually sacrifice her daughter to save herself. Most people won't. They'll choose bankruptcy, consequences, anything but that. But your mother did. I found that interesting. I'm not an experiment. Everyone is an experiment, Miss Brehiwat. The question is what we learn from them. He left the kitchen, the sound of his wheelchair fading down the hallway. Ishe sat in the dark, her tea going cold. The pattern changed after that night in the kitchen. It was subtle at first. Minho started asking Eshe to deliver documents to his office personally, instead of leaving them with Sora. He would glance at them, ask her a question about what she'd noticed while organizing them, then dismiss her. The questions were never simple. This contract has 3 signatories, he said one afternoon, tapping the paper. Which one is lying about their company's assets? Ishe had learned not to say I don't know. She leaned closer, studying the document. The middle one, she said after a moment. The company registration number doesn't match the date format used in that district. Someone forged it. Minho's eyebrow raised slightly. How do you know the date formats by district? I looked them up after the second time you asked me to verify company documents. Seemed relevant. For the first time since she'd arrived, he almost smiled. Almost. Good, he said. You learn quickly. It wasn't praise exactly. But it wasn't criticism either. Eshe would take it. 2 weeks passed. Then 3. Eshe fell into a routine. Morning tasks from Director Yoon, usually tedious but straightforward. Afternoon document deliveries to Minho's office, with their strange little tests disguised as questions. Evenings working on her thesis in her room. And sometimes, late at night, she would go to the kitchen. And sometimes Minho would already be there. Or he would appear 20 minutes after she arrived, as if by coincidence. They never planned it. Neither of them acknowledged it was happening. But it kept happening. Tell me about Addis Ababa, he said one night, appearing in the kitchen doorway while she was making tea. Eshe didn't startle anymore when he showed up. What do you want to know? What it was like growing up there. Why? Because I'm asking. Ishii poured hot water over her tea bag, watching it steep. It was loud, crowded. My mother was always chasing some new business idea. We moved apartments a lot. I learned early that nothing was permanent. Is that why you're good at adapting? Maybe. Or maybe I just didn't have a choice. Minho rolled closer to the counter. Make me tea too. It wasn't a request. But Esh did it anyway, pulling down another cup. My mother wanted me to study business, Ishe continued. Follow in her footsteps. I chose economics instead, because I wanted to understand why her businesses kept failing, why people like her make the choices they make. And do you understand now? Some of it. Desperation makes people stupid. Hope makes them reckless. And when you combine both, you get terrible decisions like borrowing money from criminals. She handed him the tea. Their fingers didn't touch but came close. You're angry with her, Minho observed. Wouldn't you be? I don't waste energy on anger. It's not useful. Then what do you waste energy on? He looked at her over the rim of his cup. Control. Information. Making sure I'm never the weakest person in the room, even though you're in a wheelchair. The words came out before Eshe could stop them. She tensed, waiting for his reaction. But Minho just took a sip of tea. Especially because I'm in a wheelchair. Physical strength is the crudest form of power. When you lose it, you have to get creative. Is that what you call this? Ish gestured around the penthouse. Creative? I call it survival. They drank their tea in silence for a moment. How did it happen? Eshe asked quietly. The wheelchair. Minho's face went carefully blank. That's not a topic we discuss. You ask me personal questions all the time. That's different. How? Because I'm the one who owns your contract. The words were meant to sting. They did. Ishi set down her cup. Right, of course. I forgot my place. She started to leave. 3 years ago. Minho said as she stopped. Someone I trusted put a bomb in my car. I survived. My driver didn't. The blast severed my spinal cord at the L1 vertebra. The doctor said I was lucky. I don't feel lucky. Ishi turned back slowly. Minho wasn't looking at her. He was staring at his tea like it held answers. Did you find out who did it? She asked. Not yet, but I will. The certainty in his voice made her shiver. Why are you telling me this? Eshe asked. Minho finally looked up. I don't know. The honesty of it surprised them both. The next morning, everything shifted again. Director Yoon called Eshe to his office and handed her a stack of financial reports. Mr. Jang wants these analyzed. Look for discrepancies, unusual patterns, anything that doesn't fit. Report back by end of day. This was different from the busy work Eshe had been doing. These were real financial documents, actual business records. She spread them across the desk in her room and got to work. It took her 6 hours to find it. The numbers were clean on the surface. But when she cross-referenced the payment schedules with the delivery dates, something didn't match. Money was being moved in a pattern that made no sense for legitimate business expenses. Someone was skimming. Not much. Just enough to hide in the noise. 2% here, 3% there. Over 18 months, it added up to nearly 40 million won. Esh checked her work 3 times to be sure. Then she brought her notes to Minho's office. He was in a meeting with Director Yoon and 2 other men Ishe didn't recognize. She hesitated in the doorway. Miss Gebrehiwat, Minho said. Come in. She entered, acutely aware of everyone's eyes on her. Did you complete the analysis? Minho asked. Yes. And? Eshe glanced at the other men. Uncertain. Speak, Minho said. These are my associates. Anything you say to me can be said in front of them. Ishi took a breath. There's a discrepancy in the logistics payments. Someone has been redirecting funds through dummy invoices. Approximately 40 million won over the last 18 months. The room went very quiet. Director Yoon's face remained neutral, but something flickered in his eyes. Show me, Minho said. Ish laid out her notes on his desk, walking him through the pattern she'd found. Minho listened without interrupting, his face unreadable. When she finished, he looked at Director Yoon. How did we miss this? I'll investigate immediately, Yoon said smoothly. Clearly there's been an oversight in the accounting department. Clearly. Minho's voice was soft, dangerous. Find out who, today. The meeting ended abruptly. The other men filed out. Director Yoon paused at the door, looking back at Ishi with an expression she couldn't read. When they were alone, Minho gestured for Ishi to sit. How did you find it? He asked. I looked at the data the way I look at informal markets. Official numbers only tell you what people want you to see. The real story is in the gaps between the numbers. Minho leaned back in his wheelchair, studying her. You just made yourself very valuable, he said. Do you understand what that means? That I'll be here longer, that you'll be safer. People who are useful to me are protected. People who aren't, he paused. Well, they stop being problems. A chill ran down Ishi's spine. I don't want to be part of this, she said quietly. I don't want to be useful to you. I just want to pay off my mother's debt and leave. Too late. You already are part of this. They looked at each other across the desk. What happens now? Eshe asked. Now you do more analysis. I have other accounts that need fresh eyes. Someone I can trust not to be part of existing schemes. You trust me. I trust that you're smart enough to know betraying me would be suicide. It wasn't exactly a compliment, but coming from him, it was something. Over the next 2 weeks, Ishi's role transformed completely. Director Yoon stopped giving her busy work. Instead, Minho assigned her directly to financial analysis, pattern recognition, data verification. She spent hours poring over spreadsheets and bank statements, finding the small inconsistencies that revealed bigger problems. She was good at it, better than she expected, and Minho noticed. "You have a gift for this," he said during one of their late-night kitchen meetings. They'd become routine now, almost comfortable. As she would make tea, Minho would appear. They would talk. "For finding criminals?" Eshi asked. "For seeing what others miss. That's rare." "Is that a compliment?" "It's an observation." Eshi smiled despite herself. "You really don't know how to be nice, do you? Nice is for people who need to be liked." "I don't need to be liked." "What do you need?" The question hung in the air between them. Minho was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer than she'd ever heard it. "I need to know who put that bomb in my car." The vulnerability in those words shocked Eshe. This was the man who ruled Seoul's underworld through fear and calculation, and he sounded almost lost. "You'll find them," she said. "How do you know?" "Because you don't seem like someone who gives up." Something shifted in Minho's expression. Not quite a smile. Something deeper. "Neither do you," he said. Their eyes met, held. Each felt something flutter in her chest, dangerous and unwelcome. This was her captor, the man who held her contract. She couldn't afford to feel anything for him except strategic wariness. But the flutter didn't care about strategy. "Before we continue, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. This story is about to get even more intense, and you won't want to miss what happens next. Trust me on this one." Now let's get back to Eshe and Minho. The next morning, Ishe woke up annoyed at herself. She'd barely slept, her mind replaying that moment in the kitchen over and over. The way Minho had looked at her, the way her heart had responded. This was ridiculous. She was a prisoner here, a piece of property being used to clear a debt. Getting attached to her captor was textbook Stockholm Syndrome. She needed to refocus, remember her goal, get through this, pay off the debt, leave. But when Sora knocked on her door with a message that Minho wanted to see her, Ishi's pulse quickened in a way that had nothing to do with fear. She found him in the main living area for the first time, sitting by the large windows overlooking Seoul. The morning light made the city look almost beautiful. "Sit," he said, gesturing to the chair across from him. Ishi sat. "I have a meeting this afternoon," Minho said. "Business associates from Busan. I want you there." "Why?" "Because you notice things other people don't. I want your observations afterward. I don't speak Korean well enough to... They'll speak English for my benefit anyway. Most of them studied abroad. Just watch and listen." Ishe hesitated. "You're bringing me to an actual business meeting?" "Yes. Won't that seem strange? Having your..." She struggled for the right word. "My analyst?" Minho finished. "That's what you are now. My analyst. Not his debt servant. Not his prisoner. His analyst." It was a small shift in language. It felt massive. "Okay," Eshe said. "I'll come." The meeting was held in a private room at an expensive restaurant in Gangnam. Isha arrived with Minho, sitting slightly behind him in a chair against the wall. The position of an assistant, someone meant to be invisible. She was very good at being invisible when she needed to be. 3 men arrived from Busan, all in their 50s, all dressed in expensive suits. They greeted Minho with careful respect, the kind that came from fear rather than admiration. The meeting was supposedly about a shipping partnership, but as Eshe listened, she began to understand it was really about territory. The Busan group wanted access to Seoul distribution networks. Minho wanted a larger percentage of their southern ports. The negotiation was polite on the surface. Underneath, it was brutal. "Your terms are unreasonable," the lead Busan representative said. His name was Mr. Kang. 40% for simple distribution access. "My networks are the best in Seoul," Minho replied calmly. "You want the best, you pay for it. We could build our own networks. You could try. How many of your people are willing to die while you establish territory here?" The threat was delivered like a weather observation. Casual. Factual. Mr. Kang's jaw tightened. "We're trying to do business professionally. So am I. Professional business in our industry requires acknowledging reality. The reality is, Seoul is mine. You want in, you pay the entrance fee." The conversation continued in circles for 30 minutes. Esh watched carefully, noting body language, tone shifts, the small moments when someone's mask slipped. She noticed when Mr. Kang glanced at Minho's wheelchair with barely concealed contempt. She noticed when the second Busan man checked his phone 3 times in 10 minutes, as if expecting a message. She noticed when the third man, the quietest one, smiled slightly when Minho quoted his price. Not a friendly smile. A knowing one. When the meeting ended with no agreement reached, the Busan group left with stiff goodbyes. Minho waited until they were gone, then looked at Eshe. Well, they're not here to negotiate, Eshe said. They already decided you'd reject their terms. This meeting was about something else. What? Testing you. Seeing if the rumors are true. What rumors? Eshe chose her words carefully. That you're weak now. That the wheelchair makes you vulnerable. Mister. Kang looked at you like you were prey, not a partner. Minho's expression darkened. What else? The second man was waiting for a signal. He kept checking his phone like he expected confirmation of something. And the third man smiled when you stated your price. Like he was happy you were being unreasonable. Why would that make him happy? Because it gives them justification for whatever they're planning to do instead of partnering with you. Minho went very still. You got all of that from a 30-minute meeting. You asked me to observe. I observed. He looked at her with something that might have been respect, or might have been concern. You're wasted as a graduate student, he said. I like being a graduate student. It's significantly safer than this. Safer is boring. Boring is underrated. For the first time since she'd met him, Minho actually laughed. It was brief, quiet, but genuine. The sound did something dangerous to Ishe's chest. That night, Minho came to the kitchen earlier than usual. Ishe was already there, working on her laptop. She'd been trying to focus on her thesis but kept getting distracted by thoughts about the meeting, about the Busan group, about the way Minho had laughed. Can't sleep? Minho asked, rolling up to the counter. Can't focus, too much on your mind. Something like that. Ishe stood to make tea. It had become their ritual. She made it, he drank it, they talked about things neither of them would discuss in daylight. That meeting today, Minho said. Your read was correct. I had it confirmed. The Busan group is planning to move into Seoul by force. They think I'm vulnerable. Are you? He looked at her sharply. Ishe didn't flinch. I'm serious. You asked for my observations. Here's another one. Everyone in your organization treats you like you're made of glass. They're afraid to tell you the truth. So I'm asking, are you vulnerable? Physically, yes. Politically, no. Strategically, he paused. That's more complicated. How complicated? Minho was quiet for a moment. Then he said something Eshe didn't expect. Come with me. I want to show you something. He led her through the penthouse to a room she'd never entered. It required a code to unlock. Inside was an office space filled with monitors, computers, filing cabinets. This is my real office, Minho said. The other one is for show. Eshe looked around, taking it in. One wall was covered in photos, documents, strings, connecting different pieces of information. A conspiracy board. Is that about the bombing? She asked. Yes. 3 years of investigation, hundreds of leads, no answers. Eshe moved closer, studying the board. Photos of people, places, dates, notes in Korean and English. Question marks everywhere. Why are you showing me this? She asked. Because you see patterns. Maybe you'll see something I've missed. It was trust. Actual genuine trust. From a man who trusted no one. Esh felt the weight of it. She studied the board for a long time, reading what she could, asking on questions about the parts she didn't understand. Minho answered patiently, walking her through his investigation. Here, Eshe said finally, pointing to a section. These financial transfers. 3 days before the bombing. They look random, but they follow a pattern. What pattern? Someone was moving money to look like business expenses, but the timing is too precise. And look, the same pattern repeats here 6 months earlier. Small amounts, same intervals. Minho rolled closer, examining where she was pointing. I saw those. Assumed they were legitimate business. Maybe, but why the repetition, unless someone was practicing? Testing to see if small transfers would be noticed. Minho pulled out his phone and made a call, speaking rapid Korean. When he hung up, he looked at Ishe with an intensity that made her breath catch. If you're right, he said quietly, you just moved my investigation forward more in 10 minutes than it's moved in 6 months. I might be wrong. You're not wrong. I can feel it. They were standing very close now. Close enough that Eshe could see the flecks of amber in his dark eyes. Close enough to feel the heat radiating from him. Ish, he said, and it was the first time he'd used her first name without her last name attached. Yes, you're not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone afraid, someone broken, someone easy to control. Sorry to disappoint. You didn't disappoint. His voice was low, rough. That's the problem. Ishi's heart was hammering. She should step back, create distance. Remember who he was, what he was, but she didn't move. This can't happen, she said quietly. I know. You own my contract. I know. The power dynamic is completely, I know, but neither of them moved away. Minho lifted his hand slowly, giving her time to pull back. When she didn't, he touched her face, his fingers light against her cheek. Isha's eyes closed. This was a mistake, a terrible, dangerous mistake. His thumb brushed across her cheekbone. "Tell me to stop," he said. Esh opened her eyes. "Would you, if I asked?" Yes. She believed him. Against all logic, against everything she knew about him, she believed him. "I should tell you to stop," she said. "But you won't." "I should." His hand slid into her hair, gentle but firm. "Esh." The way he said her name made her whole body react. She was about to do something incredibly stupid. She knew it. Didn't care. Minho pulled her closer, slowly, carefully, watching her face for any sign of hesitation. Eshe's hands came up to his shoulders. They were a breath apart when someone knocked on the door. They sprang apart like teenagers caught by parents. "Mr. Jiang?" It was Director Yoon's voice. "We have a situation." Minho closed his eyes briefly, frustration clear on his face. Then his expression went neutral, controlled. "Come in." Yoon entered, stopped when he saw Eshe. His eyes moved between them, assessing. "I can come back," he said carefully. "No. What's the situation?" The Busan group made their move. They hit 3 of our distribution points in the last hour. Minho's jaw tightened. "Casualties? 2 injured, 1 serious. Get everyone to safe locations. Activate the secondary protocols." "I want, sir," Yoon interrupted. "They also sent a message. They want to meet. Tomorrow. Neutral ground. It's a trap, probably, but if we don't go, it looks like weakness." Minho was quiet for a moment. Then he looked at Ishii. "Leave us." Ishii left the room, her heart still pounding, her skin still tingling where he'd touched her. She'd almost kissed Jang Minho. She'd wanted to kiss Jang Minho. This was a disaster. Back in her room, Ishii paced, trying to process what had just happened. The investigation board, the almost kiss, the interruption, the attack from Busan. Everything was spinning out of control. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "You're in danger. They know you helped him. Get out while you can." Ishii stared at the message, her blood going cold. Who was this? How did they get her number? Another text came through. "I'm trying to help you. Don't trust anyone in that house, especially not Jang Minho." Ishii's hands were shaking. She typed back quickly. "Who is this?" No response. She waited 5 minutes, 10, nothing. Someone was watching her. Someone knew she'd been analyzing Minho's business. Someone wanted her to run. But running now would mean abandoning her mother to the debt. Would mean Minho's enemies might go after her family. She was trapped, truly trapped, not by the contract anymore, but by circumstances spiraling beyond her control. There was a knock on her door. Ishii jumped. "It's Sora," came the quiet voice. Ishii opened the door. Sora looked worried. "Are you okay?" Sora asked. "I heard about the attacks." "I'm fine. What's going to happen?" Sora glanced down the hallway, then stepped into the room and closed the door. "Mr. Jang is going to that meeting tomorrow," she said quietly. Director Yoon tried to talk him out of it, but he refused. He says showing fear now would be the end of everything. Is he right? Maybe. Or maybe he's going to get himself killed. Sora's eyes were worried. This world, Eshe, it's dangerous. More dangerous than you understand. 3 years ago, I watched them bring Mr. Jang back from that bombing. I thought he was dead. There was so much blood. Her voice cracked. You care about him, Eshe realized. We all do. Even when he's cold, even when he's cruel, we know what he's protecting us from. The people who want to take his place are worse, much worse. After Sora left, Ishii sat on her bed, staring at the anonymous texts. She had a choice to make. She could listen to the warning, pack her things, disappear into Seoul and hope Minho's enemies didn't find her. Or she could stay, help Minho navigate whatever was coming, risk everything for a man who'd kept her prisoner. A man who'd touched her face like she was precious. A man who'd trusted her with his deepest investigation. A man who was walking into what might be a death trap tomorrow. Eshe stood up, her decision made. She left her room and went to find Minho. Minho was still in his private office, alone now, staring at the conspiracy board. He turned when Ishe entered without knocking. I got a text, she said, holding out her phone. 2, actually. From someone warning me that I'm in danger, that I should leave, that I shouldn't trust anyone here, especially you. Minho took her phone and read the messages. His face remained calm, but something dangerous flickered in his eyes. When did these come? 10 minutes ago. He pulled out his own phone and typed something rapidly. I'm having it traced. Did you respond? Just asking who it was. No answer. Minho handed back her phone. It could be the Busan group trying to destabilize my household. Or it could be someone inside trying to protect you. Inside, you mean one of your people? It's possible. Not everyone agrees with my methods. He looked at her carefully. Are you going to listen to the warning? No. Why not? Eshi took a breath. Because running now puts my family at risk. Because whoever sent this doesn't know me if they think a vague threat will make me abandon. She stopped. Abandon what? My obligations. But that wasn't what she'd almost said. They both knew it. The meeting tomorrow is dangerous, Minho said quietly. The Busan group is making a power play. They think I'm weak enough to eliminate. If you stay here, you're part of that target. Then I guess I'm part of the target. Ishii, don't, she cut him off. Don't tell me to leave for my own safety when you're the one walking into an obvious trap. If you're going to that meeting, you need someone watching your back who isn't compromised. You think someone in my organization is compromised? I think someone always is. That's how the bombing happened 3 years ago, isn't it? Someone inside helped. Minho went very still. What makes you say that? Because bombs don't place themselves. Someone knew your schedule, your route, your security protocols. Someone close to you. She walked to the conspiracy board, studying it again. You've been looking at external enemies, Eshe continued. But what if the answer is right here? Someone who was there before, who's still here now. I've investigated everyone. Have you investigated Director Yoon? The silence that followed was heavy, dangerous. Yoon has been with me for 12 years, Minho said, his voice tight. He's loyal. Is he, or is he just patient? Eshi pointed to a section of the board. Look at the financial patterns I found. The skimming operation. It was sophisticated, careful, designed to avoid detection. Who has that level of access and knowledge? Half my organization. But who benefits most if you're seen as weakened? Who gets more power the more vulnerable you appear? Minho rolled closer to the board, examining it with new eyes. You're suggesting Yoon has been undermining me for 3 years. I'm suggesting it's worth considering, especially before you walk into a meeting he arranged. Minho pulled out his phone again, made another call. This time he spoke so quietly, Eshe couldn't hear. When he hung up, his expression was unreadable. I'm having Yoon's communications from the past 72 hours pulled and analyzed, he said, discreetly. If you're wrong, if I'm wrong, you can add more time to my contract. If I'm right, I just saved your life. Their eyes met. You're either very brave or very foolish, Minho said. I've been called both. Something shifted in his expression. He reached out and took her hand, his grip warm and firm. If this goes badly tomorrow, he said quietly, if something happens to me, there's an envelope in the top drawer of my desk in the main office. It has instructions for releasing your contract, full discharge of all debts, your mother, your family, all of it. Ishii's throat tightened. Why are you telling me this? Because you should know. Whatever happens, you'll be free. I don't want to be free if it means you're dead. The words came out before she could stop them. Minho's hand tightened on hers. Esh, I know, she interrupted. I know this is complicated. I know the power dynamic is wrong. I know I should hate you, but I don't, and I can't pretend anymore that I do. For a long moment, Minho said nothing. Then, he pulled her closer, until she was standing between his knees, his wheelchair making them almost the same height. You're right, he said quietly. About all of it. The power dynamic, the complications, everything. His hand came up to her face again. The same gentle touch as before. But I stopped being able to pretend about 3 weeks ago. When? The night you told me I don't know how to be nice. You smiled when you said it. I realized I wanted to see that smile again. And again. That's when I knew I was in trouble. Isha's heart was racing. What are we doing? Something inadvisable. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have right now. He pulled her down slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. When their lips met, it was soft, careful, nothing like the passion Isha expected. It was better. She melted into him, her hands finding his shoulders, his hair. He kissed her like she was something rare, something that might break. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Minho rested his forehead against hers. We can't do this again, he said. I know. Not until you're free. Not until the contract is void and you can choose without obligation. I'm choosing now. No, you're reacting. There's a difference. He pulled back, his hands dropping away from her. After tomorrow, after this situation with Busan is resolved, I'm releasing your contract. All of it. You'll be free to go. Esh felt something twist in her chest. And then what? And then if you choose to come back, if you choose this, he gestured between them, it will be real. Not coerced, not complicated by debt or obligation. That's very honorable. I'm not honorable. I'm selfish. I want to know that if you're here, it's because you want to be, not because you have to be." Before Eshi could respond, Minho's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his expression went cold. "What?" Esh asked. "The trace on your texts. They came from inside this building. Someone in the household had sent those warnings. Someone wanted Ishe gone." The next morning came too quickly. Eshe barely slept, running through scenarios in her head. The meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. at a neutral location, a traditional tea house in Insadong, public enough to discourage open violence, private enough for serious conversation. Minho was taking Director Yoon and 2 other security personnel. He'd forbidden Ishe from coming. She'd ignored him. At 1 p.m., she intercepted Sora in the hallway. "I need your help," Esha said quietly, "and I need you to trust me." Sora looked nervous. "What kind of help?" "I need you to get me into that meeting this afternoon, without Director Yoon knowing." I think Director Yoon is working with the Busan group. I think he's the one who sent those warning texts to make me leave before I figured it out. And I think Minho is walking into a trap." Sora's face went pale. "You can't be serious. Help me or don't. But if something happens to Minho because I stayed silent, I'll never forgive myself." Sora studied her for a long moment. Then she nodded once, sharply. "There's a service entrance to the tea house. I can get you in through there. But if Director Yoon sees you, he won't. I'll be careful." At 1:45, Ishe left the penthouse through a side exit Sora showed her. She took a taxi to Insadong, her heart hammering the entire ride. The tea house was beautiful, traditional, tucked between modern buildings like a piece of history. Sora met her at the service entrance and led her through the kitchen to a small storage room with a screen panel that overlooked the main meeting space. "You can see and hear everything from here," Sora whispered. "Don't make noise. Don't move. And if anything goes wrong, run." Then she was gone. As she pressed her eye to the gap in the screen panel, the meeting room was elegant, low tables, cushions, traditional tea service. Minho arrived first, his wheelchair positioned at the head of the table. Director Yoon sat to his right. 2 security guards stood by the door. 5 minutes later, the Busan group entered. Mr. Kang from the previous meeting, plus 4 others. Too many people for a simple negotiation. They sat down. Tea was poured. "Thank you for coming," Mr. Kang said in English. "We appreciate your willingness to meet despite recent tensions." "Tensions you created," Minho replied calmly. "Attacking my distribution points wasn't exactly a friendly gesture. We were making a point, which was that Seoul isn't as secure as you think it is, that your control is slipping." Minho's expression didn't change. "Is that your assessment?" "It's reality. 3 years ago, you were untouchable." Now Mr. Kang's eyes dropped to the wheelchair. "Circumstances have changed." One of the Busan men smirked. "Circumstances change," Minho agreed. "Power doesn't. I still control Seoul. You still control Busan. The question is whether we're going to do business or waste time on posturing." "We came here with a proposal, Mr. Kang said. "A merger. Your Seoul operations combined with our southern network. Equal partnership. Equal partnership with 5 of you and 1 of me? With respect, Mr. Jang, you're not in a position to negotiate from strength anymore." That's when Ishii noticed it. Director Yoon's hand, resting on the table, gave a small signal. Just his index finger tapping twice. 2 of the Busan men shifted position slightly. It was coordinated, rehearsed. Isha's blood ran cold. This wasn't a negotiation. It was an execution setup. She had to do something. But what? She had no weapon, no authority, no way to stop what was about to happen. Then she remembered the other part of what Sora had told her. The tea house had a sound system for announcements. The control panel was in the storage room where she was hiding. Ishe looked at it, her mind racing. She had maybe 30 seconds before whatever was planned happened. She pulled out her phone and made a decision that was either brilliant or suicidal. She connected her phone to the tea house speaker system, pulled up a voice recording app, and started speaking in Korean, her accent rough but understandable. "This is a message for the Busan delegation. We have evidence of your communication with Director Yoon. We know about the planned attack. We know about the financial arrangements. Seoul Metropolitan Police are en route to this location now. You have 2 minutes to leave before they arrive." It was a complete bluff. She had no evidence, no police, no backup, but her voice echoed through the tea house loud enough that everyone froze. Mr. Kang shot to his feet. "What is this?" Director Yoon's face went white. Minho's eyes went to the screen panel where Ishii was hiding. He couldn't see her, but somehow he knew. "I think," Minho said calmly, "that you've been outmaneuvered." "This is a trick," Mr. Kang said. "Is it?" Are you willing to risk finding out? The Busan men looked at each other, uncertain. That's when Ishe played her second card. She'd been recording since the meeting started. She played back Director Yoon's voice from earlier, speaking in Korean to someone on the phone before the meeting. Everything is set. Jang won't leave that room alive. It was taken out of context. Yoon could have been talking about anything, but it sounded damning. Mr. Kang looked at Director Yoon with fury. You said this was secure. It is. She's bluffing. Minho raised his hand, silencing everyone. He pulled out his phone and made a call, speaking in Korean. Director Kim? Yes. I need units at the Insadong Tea House, full tactical. We have a situation. He was calling an actual police contact. The bluff had become real. Mr. Kang swore viciously. He and his men headed for the exit, moving fast. Director Yoon started to follow, but Minho's voice stopped him cold. Stay. It wasn't a request. The Busan group fled. The tea house fell silent except for the distant sound of sirens getting closer. Minho looked at the screen panel again. You can come out now, Eshe. Eshe emerged from the storage room, her legs shaking. The two security guards looked shocked to see her. Director Yoon's expression was pure hatred. You, he spat. You ruined everything. I saved his life. Ishii shot back. You were going to let them kill him. I was going to take what should have been mine. I've served him for 12 years. 12 years of watching him rule through fear while I did all the actual work. And then the bombing should have finished it. Should have cleared the way for someone stronger. But he survived. Like a cockroach. Minho's face remained eerily calm. So you've been waiting, undermining me slowly, working with my enemies. You're weak, Yoon snarled. That wheelchair makes you weak. This organization needs real leadership. Leadership like yours? Working with the Busan group to murder me and take over. It would have worked if not for her. Yoon glared at Eshe, some debt servant who should have known her place. Minho's voice dropped to something dangerous and quiet. Her place is wherever she chooses it to be, which is more than I can say for you. The police arrived then, Director Kim leading several tactical officers. Minho spoke to him briefly in Korean. Yoon was arrested, still shouting threats as he was led away. When it was over, when the police left and the tea house emptied, Minho and Eshe were alone. That was incredibly reckless, Minho said. I know. You could have been killed. So could you. I told you not to come. I don't follow orders well. You should probably know that about me. Despite everything, despite the danger and the betrayal and the chaos, Minho smiled, a real, genuine smile that transformed his whole face. I do know that about you, he said. It's one of my favorite things. Ishii's breath caught. Your favorite things? Come here. She walked over to him and he took her hands in his. You saved my life today, he said quietly. You saw what I missed. You acted when action was needed. You were brilliant and terrifying and, he paused. I don't have words for what I'm feeling right now. Try. Grateful. Awed. Completely undone by you. Isha's eyes stung with sudden tears. That's pretty good for someone who doesn't have words. Minho pulled her down into his lap, his arms wrapping around her. It should have been awkward with the wheelchair, but it wasn't. It felt right. The contract is void, he said against her hair. As of this moment, your mother's debt is forgiven. You're free. Ishii pulled back to look at him. Just like that? Just like that. You've earned it 100 times over. So I can leave whenever I want. Yes. And if I don't want to leave, then you stay. On your terms. Not as a servant, not as an obligation. As he hesitated. As what? As whatever you choose to be. Before you hear what Eshe decides, I want you to think about something. How many times have you seen someone trapped in an impossible situation find their power? Find their voice? That's what this story is about. Drop a comment and tell me about a time you found your strength when everything felt impossible. I read every single comment. Now let's see what Ishe chooses. Ishe looked at Minho for a long moment. I need to do something first, she said. Before I make any decisions about us, there's something I have to handle. Your mother, yes. Minho nodded. I understand. Take all the time you need. That evening, Eshe called her mother. The conversation was hard. Harder than anything Eshe had done in the tea house. Her mother cried, apologized, tried to explain, made excuses. Ishii let her talk until there was nothing left to say. Then she spoke. You sold me. Mom, you made a deal that treated me like property. And I need you to understand what that did. I know, I'm so sorry. I'm not finished. What you did was unforgivable. But I'm going to forgive you anyway. Not because you deserve it. Not because what you did was okay. But because carrying this anger is destroying me. Her mother sobbed harder. But things are different now, Eshe continued. I'm not your safety net anymore. I'm not your backup plan. You need to figure out your life without assuming I'll fix your mistakes. I understand. Do you? Because this is the last time, Mom. The last time I clean up after you. The debt is forgiven. You're clear. But if you do this again, if you make another reckless choice and expect me to pay for it, I'm done. Completely done. I promise. Eshe, I promise. I hope so. They talked for another hour. It wasn't healing, not yet. But it was a start. When Ishe hung up, she felt lighter. Not forgiven, not healed, but free. She found Minho in his private office, working at his computer. How did it go? He asked. It was hard, but necessary. She sat down across from him. I told her the debt is forgiven. It is. I had the paperwork processed this afternoon. She'll receive official notification tomorrow. Thank you. You earned it. I don't give gifts, Eshe. Everything is transactional with me. You provided value beyond measure today. This is the payment. So we're even now. We're even. They looked at each other across the desk. There's something else, Eshe said. Something I need from you. Name it. I want you to bow. Minho blinked. What? You heard me. I want the great Jiang Minho to bow to me. To acknowledge that I'm not your servant, not your debt payment, not your anything, unless I choose to be. For a long moment, Minho just stared at her. Then, slowly, he rolled his wheelchair back from the desk. He bent forward, his head lowering in a formal bow. When he straightened, his eyes were bright with something Eshe couldn't name. You're not my servant, he said quietly. You're not my debt payment. You're the most extraordinary person I've ever met. And if you choose to walk out that door right now, I'll let you go. No conditions, no obligations. He paused. Just the hope that maybe you'll come back. Ishi stood up and walked around the desk. She cupped his face in her hands. I'm not leaving, she said. Not tonight, maybe not for a long time. But I need you to understand something. I'm staying because I choose to. Because somewhere in the last 2 months, I stopped seeing you as my captor and started seeing you as she took a breath. Someone I could love, if you let me. Minho's hands came up to cover hers. I don't know how to do this, he admitted. I don't know how to be with someone as an equal. I've spent so long controlling everything. Then learn, we'll figure it out together. It won't be easy. I'm not afraid of hard work. I'm demanding, cold. I don't know how to be soft. You're soft with me, when no one else is watching. That's enough. Minho pulled her closer, until she was standing between his knees again. Stay, he said. It wasn't a command, it was a plea. Please stay. I already said I would. Stay longer than tonight. Stay until we figure out what this is. Stay because you want to, not because you owe anyone anything. Ishe smiled. That's a lot of staying. Is that a yes? That's a we'll see. Ask me again tomorrow. And tomorrow? Ask me again the day after. Esh. She kissed him, stopping his words. This time it was different from the careful kiss in the investigation room. This time it was a promise, a choice, a beginning. When they pulled apart, both breathing hard, Minho rested his forehead against hers. I don't deserve you, he said. Probably not. But I'm choosing you anyway. Why? Because underneath all the cold calculation and the fear and the control, there's someone decent trying to survive. Someone who got hurt and built walls to keep it from happening again. I understand that. I've built my own walls. So what do? 2 people with walls. We take them down, slowly, carefully, 1 brick at a time. Minho smiled against her lips. That sounds terrifying. It is. You in? Yeah, I'm in. 3 months later, Eshe defended her PhD thesis. The room was packed with professors, colleagues, other students. She was nervous but prepared. Her research was solid. Her arguments were sound. Halfway through her presentation, she noticed someone slip into the back row. Minho, in his wheelchair, wearing a suit but looking almost relaxed. He'd said he might come if his schedule allowed. She hadn't believed he actually would. Their eyes met. He gave her a tiny nod. Ishi smiled and continued her presentation with renewed confidence. She passed. With honors. Afterward, in the hallway, Minho was waiting. Dr. Gebrehiwat, he said, and the pride in his voice made her chest tight. Congratulations. You came. Of course I came. Did you think I'd miss this? I wasn't sure. He handed her a small box. Inside was a bracelet, delicate gold with a single Ethiopian opal. It's beautiful, Ishi breathed. Your mother helped me pick it out. Ishi's head snapped up. You talked to my mother? She called last week. Wanted to know if I was treating you well. I told her you don't let me treat you badly even if I wanted to. We had a long conversation. She's trying. Really trying. Ish felt tears sting her eyes. Thank you for giving her a chance. She's your mother. That matters to you. So it matters to me. Ishi kissed him right there in the hallway, not caring who saw. When they pulled apart, Minho was smiling that rare, genuine smile she loved. So, Dr. Gebrehiwat, what's next? I have some job offers, university positions, research grants, and I'm trying to decide if I want any of them. What do you want? Ishii took his hand. I want to help you rebuild. Your organization needs legitimate fronts, real businesses. I want to help create those. Use my economics background for something that matters. You want to help a criminal enterprise go legitimate? I want to help someone I care about build something better. There's a difference. Minho studied her face. You're sure this life, it's not easy. It's not safe, I'm sure. Are you? Sure about what? About wanting me as a partner. Real partner. Not an employee, not an assistant. Someone with equal say. Minho was quiet for a long moment. Then he bowed his head again, just like he had that night in his office. Equal partners, he said. I can't promise I'll be good at it, but I'll try. That's all I ask. They left the university together, Ishii walking beside his wheelchair, already planning their next move. 6 months after that, on a cool evening in Seoul, Eshe sat in the penthouse she now considered home. She'd moved into Minho's rooms officially 3 months ago. They were building something new together, slowly transforming his criminal empire into legitimate businesses. It was hard work, dangerous sometimes, but it mattered. Her mother called once a week now. The conversations were still sometimes awkward, but they were healing, building something new from the broken pieces. Eshe heard Minho's wheelchair in the hallway and looked up from her laptop. He came in carrying takeout bags. Mr. Park is off tonight. I got Ethiopian food from that place you like. Ishi's heart swelled. 6 months ago, she'd been his prisoner. Now he was bringing her favorite food after a long day. You're getting soft, she teased. Only for you. He set the food on the table. How was your day? Productive. I finished the proposal for the coffee import business. Completely legitimate. Sustainable sourcing. Fair trade practices. It could actually work. Let me see. They ate dinner together, discussing business like partners, arguing about details like equals, laughing like people who'd chosen each other. Later in bed, Minho held her close. I never thought I'd have this, he said quietly into the darkness. Have what? Peace. Someone who sees all of me and stays anyway. Esh turned to face him. You're stuck with me now. I don't quit. Good. Because I'm not letting you go. That sounded almost romantic. I'm working on it. I know. You're doing better. He kissed her forehead. Thank you. For what? For being stubborn enough to stay. For being brave enough to fight. For being you. Ishii smiled in the darkness. Thank you for bowing. I'd do it again. I know. That's why I love you. It was the first time either of them had said it out loud. Minho went very still. Then he cupped her face in his hands, his voice rough with emotion. I love you too. I don't know how it happened. I don't know when. But I do. They kissed, slow and sweet, a promise of tomorrow and all the tomorrows after that. Outside, Seoul glittered in the night, a city of millions inside. Two people who'd found each other in the darkest circumstances held each other close. Eshe had been sold to a paralyzed mafia boss as payment for a debt, but she'd made him bow instead, and in doing so, she'd freed them both. Before we end this story, I want to ask you something. If this story moved you, if you felt something while listening, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now. Share this video with someone who needs to hear about finding strength in impossible situations. And drop a comment telling me what you thought. Did you see the ending coming? What was your favorite moment? I love hearing from you. Thank you for staying with Eshe and Minho until the end. Until the next story, remember that you're stronger than you think.